on the IDX. We're just going to do it locally. They don't care. We failed at the lobby effort last fall for NAR, failed at trying to get a modification to this. And so here we are. We have this policy that is, it is very simple to understand. And that is, it is mandated that pocket listings are no longer allowed within the association across the United States. So we're talking Puerto Rico, Hawaii, everywhere. We're not the only ones dealing with this. And so the concept is very simple. You take a listing, you're not allowed to market it. If you market it outside of your brokerage, it has to be on the MLS within 24 hours. It's that simple. And so some of you are going to be in two categories. You've got the persons who do the like quasi light pocket listing, and that is it's listed for, you know, it is not on the market. I'm sorry, it's not on the MLS for like a week, and then eventually it does go on the market for on the MLS for various reasons. I mean, at first you're trying to work on it or whatever, and sometimes you actually have a pool of persons outside the brokerage that you know are going to be more successful, more likely to be able to close on this particular property and this area, et cetera, be it the type of person you're looking for. Let's say it's a retirement community, or the pricing, right? And then there's going to be the persons who truly are what this is targeting, and that is pocket listing persons. And I have them. We have them in the company. We have them right there where you guys are sitting. And that is, they take pocket listings and they're never intending to be on the MLS. They do the waiver, et cetera. And if you look at the form now, it's specifically on the second page, I believe it's section 8 or 9, it wipes out all of the rules we used to have and says, the clear policy now exists. If you market it outside of your brokerage, then you must put it on the MLS within 24 hours. So very extreme rule. I was surprised that it got passed. And my prediction was that this is not going to go over well with, you know, 300 million Americans who are, et cetera. And as predicted, there's been a lawsuit filed last Monday in San Francisco, federal court. And so my thought was that it was going to be some like, you know, sort of wrangler, like cowboy state, like Texas or Florida. They always, you know, I figured it was going to be Texas or Florida. They always seem to screw, you know, they're a little bit more rambunctious and whatnot, right? I mean, between Ohio, Texas, and Florida, they basically affect every single real federal election we have, don't they? There's always some lawsuit or whatever. But sure enough, you guys are always the winners of litigation, right? If you saw the cases we had from last year, we did the top 10 cases from the United States, and I think you had 7 in California for the best non-disclosure cases. So once again, California is the winner. San Francisco has filed a lawsuit as predicted. On my prediction, there'll probably be 10. They'll be filed throughout the United States, and then NAR will have to deal with this, and with hope, because it's a very difficult subject behind the scenes if you think about it. One of NAR's largest concerns is antitrust, right? We think about it all the time. NAR talks about it. They want to be fair. They don't want the DOJ to investigate them. The DOJ has, over the years, you know, before the recession, there was a big concern, and then the recession came, and then they needed you guys, so then they backed off. There was actually a 10-year stay put into play that was signed between NAR and the DOJ. That expired. The DOJ is back out there, and then lo and behold, we have the coronavirus, and guess who needs realtors again? The federal government to move property. We're an essential service. So once again, we dodged. I feel like every time there's a crisis in America, you guys get the job done. And here we are again on the front lines, getting people in and out of houses. So, but I do think that this will cause NAR to take a step back and think about what they're doing, because the weird angle is, you can only market the property internally in your own brokerage. Well, how is that to the betterment of the client? But that is specifically in the rule. And if you think about abusing the rule, you could say, well, I only want to market within my own brokerage, and I don't have to market outside. And then, so this is the path that you guys have created. So there's always an unfortunate consequence, right? And that's one of them. And so I think with the lawsuits, I didn't want to be I didn't want to be beating the drum against NAR. I think they do a wonderful job. But I do think that they're off base on this, and they need some flexibility as to the privacy issue, and simultaneously acknowledging the the discrimination side of it, because that makes sense. You have a certain neighborhood and they're discriminating against a certain class of protected persons, and they're not putting it on the MLS for that exact reason, and they've got other realtors who have the same discriminatory policies. That I get it. That's terrible, and that's not what we're here for. So, but what we're going to have to do right now, we have to follow the rule, and we're going to see how those lawsuits pan out. I don't think there's any way in the world that the rule doesn't change, in my opinion. But then the next subject is going to be, more importantly, and it's really a local issue, and that is coming soon. And the way coming soon is going to be implemented and changed, because this coming soon is going to piggyback on the clear rule. Because for those of you that are not doing solid, I never intend about putting it on the MLS. I do pocket listings. I have high-end folks. That's all I do. You're a different animal, and we're going to have to talk privately a lot, as this plays out. But for the rest of you who actually take listings and don't put them on the market right away for particular reasons, that's really a coming soon issue. And being able to say coming soon, and then what you're allowed to do with coming soon. Because remember, in the clear policy, if you take the listing and the moment you market it outside of your brokerage, you have to put it on the MLS within 1 business day. Well, if it's Friday and this Monday is a holiday, right? You have 72 hours of it not being on the MLS. Mm-hmm. And, that may not make sense to an outsider, but you guys being the experts understand that's an enormous amount of time. And a lot of people are going to be looking in this particular neighborhood on this weekend because it's a 3-day weekend and it's time for them to, and so you can actually accomplish quite a bit by marketing it on a Friday, if you think about it. And then that piggybacks into coming soon. So Forrest, can you explain to them real quick how the coming soon are being modified from MLS to MLS to MLS?
Yes, the coming soon is a little different in each of the MLSs. It all comes from the same perspective, which means it must be in the MLS in a coming soon status. In the CRMLS, there's a limit of 21 days. I don't know that we have that limit here in Nevada on the 21 days, but it must be in there. And then there's a date that it'll automatically go into active ER status. However, marketing is allowed as long as the coming soon status is clearly a part of the marketing. So you can put a for sale sign in the front yard as long as it has coming soon. It'll be in the MLS. Commissions are offered, limited distribution in the MLS, but there's no showings. So the minute you conduct a showing, that's considered marketing to the public other than coming soon. So a showing then is a trigger to then have to change status from coming soon to active. And again, that can only be there for 21 days. This really is this is far better than what we used to do, though, with the instruction to exclude the SELM, and then or taking the SELM or taking the listing and putting a post-dated date on it. So this is better from that standpoint, and it gets it done, but it does have to be in the MLS.
And that's the key difference, right? Because it is in the MLS from the outset for coming soon.
That's correct. And so one of the tiny little concerns is, particularly Southern California, you have lots of listing reciprocity between MLSs. And to the extent that there's a tiny difference in one MLS's rules from another's, once that reciprocity kicks in and it leaves law and it goes into CRMLS, that listing as it appears in CRMLS must now follow CRMLS rules, even though they didn't have to in CLAW.
Very confusing. I like it.
And that's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can still do the SELM. They call them now excluded. CRMLS goes further. They're going to have two different forms of exclusion. One they're going to call exclusion, and the other they're going to call registered. And I don't know that Claw or the Desert has a registered status, right? That's where there's no cooperation. It's not in the MLS, nothing like that. Again, the trick here is you can exclude, but the very second that you then do anything that's considered advertising outside of your own brokerage, really, then that's public, and now you're forced to put it in the MLS within one business day.
Forrest, what if you did the coming soon, you placed a sign in the yard and you're working on the photos, etc., and you get an offer immediately?
Sure. You can get an offer. Now, you may not show the place. So the offer would have to come in without a showing, which is possible.
Very possible, right? If it was a very hot property. I mean, some persons would say, fine, I'll work on that through the contingency period.
Yeah, they drive up, they're going to write the offer. They don't care if they can't see it. They'll subject to viewing later, no big deal. It gets negotiated. If that's successful, then the status has to change within one day.
Upon there being a mutually agreed agreement.
Correct, yes.
And then it would be pending.
Yes, it would go right into a pending, one of the pending statuses.
Active under contract.
Well, yeah, depending on the MLS, there's a whole bunch of different ones now.
And so, but that would not be a violation of a fellow realtor seeing that sign go in the yard, even though there's no photos. They're familiar with that property from 2 years ago, and they have their client put an offer in.
Correct. No problem in presenting that offer and negotiating it. Just have to remember to change status if you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so first, I have a question. So what typically happens is, and this is where we really need to be clear, and I explained this to Darren earlier. So what typically happens is the listing agent goes on the listing appointment. They take with them, we've trained them to take with them the SELM, because they need a week or 10 days for photos, touch-up painting, cleaning, whatever needs to be done. So they put in that SELM, the date certain, or 10 days, whatever that they choose. Now that form has the box that checks that says, clear cooperation, boo, boo, boo. What should be the procedure now for our listing agents who go on a listing presentation, who want to take the listing, keep it off the market for the duration of the photographs and whatnot, and then make it active? So that goes immediately in the MLS within 24 hours of the coming soon status? Is that what you're saying?
No, if they're going to exclude it, then there is no marketing, no showings, no talking about that property to anybody else.
Outside of the brokerage, can they talk about it like in buy side? Can they talk about it in Berkshire Hathaway?
No. No, even to avow any sort of thing, because we have the problem here in a couple of cases where I don't want to put it out there, but I want to put it on my own private website and only to my people that have a login. Well, unfortunately, that's still considered public marketing.
Okay.
So in those cases, this is where the coming soon probably offers us a better alternative, because we can market it without marketing it, right? And we can get the interest and still not have to show it. And who knows, by the time that 21 days is up, maybe we got a half a dozen multiple offers waiting for us.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you some of the questions in the chat?
Sure.
All right. Diana Bernardi wants to know, it was my understanding that a sign in the yard was not allowed with coming soon.
What they're saying now, that was my understanding, but in the CRMLS, they look at it a little bit differently, and they say marketing with clearly saying coming soon is okay. So I kind of have the same question, because I don't believe I can do that here in Nevada. So this may get back to and I've got to look that one up here, because it looks like CRMLS is trying to allow people to handle this in a better way and trying to be as flexible as they can.
Okay, what should we advise our Berkshire Hathaway team to do as it relates to, they get the listing, they put it in the coming soon status in the MLS. Should we allow them to put a sign or no?
Let me get back to you today on that, because I want to look at a couple of other different MLSs and see what they're saying,
okay,
and get their interpretation. And even with CRMLS, I want to contact them and say, does this marketing with the coming soon, does that also include for sale signs in the front yard.
Perfect. All right, Dean's site.
I really do think the coming soon is a moving target because it's clear, the clear policy is going to move coming soon into the limelight, and it's going to be way more analyzed and as a way to control the listing without getting into the horrible clear policy. And so then you're going to see some new promulgation of bylaws and explanations from every board. And they must be getting inundated with questions at this point, because like I said, there's clear policy light and there's clear policy heavy, right? There's some of us that are doing the clear policy intent, like that's what we want to do. We're going to take the listing of the very, very high end, never market it. It's separate internally. I mean, amongst our fellow, same persons at the same style of work, right? And then there's going to be the persons that are not doing that. They're like coming soon is just going to be, it's never gotten so much attention in the last 5 years, right?
Right. And personally, I think coming soon in the front yard sign is going to be a problem. That's why I want to check on it, because that switches from the coming soon, which is being marketed within the MLS to other agents and brokerages. Now I'm putting it in the front yard. There's an argument to be made that's public, even though it says coming soon.
Okay. Clear as mud. Great.
Clear as mud.
Next question. Dean's site says, I thought the rules stated something to the effect that we can market to 1, our brokerage, and 2, our direct clients, and meet the rule of coming soon. If I'm correct, what is considered direct clients, leads, or previous clients?
See, I don't think that's a coming soon status. I think that's where you're going to see, that would be registered status. As long as you're doing that, stays within the brokerage, or that's an excluded status, different from coming soon, is how I see that. And we have that here. We don't call it registered, but we call it office exclusive. And we're only allowed to then market it within our company and directly to our clients. But again, the minute we do anything publicly rather than privately, then we've got to put it back in the MLS.
Okay.
But I think the question is a client the public?
No.
So going directly to our clients is not a violation even of the clear policy.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think if we're going directly to our clients, but if we're trying to market, like you got a website, even if you require them to log in and you treat the website like a vow, and now the public is allowed to log in and register, I think that's definitely public marketing, as much as we don't want it to be.
Okay, so just to clarify, I work with an investor buyer. I've got a listing. I know it's coming, and I know it's going to be perfect for them. I can call that investor buyer and say, "Hey, I've got 543 East Mural Estate Court coming on the market in 3 weeks," and let them know that, or no?
Not in coming soon status, but if it's registered or excluded, so that it's excluded and proprietary to the brokerage, then you could do that.
Okay.
Why does it say Scott Test with a little icon, then Skyer with no icon?
Okay, I don't think that was for us. Louise Hampton would like to know, can we take a one-party listing?
In what context would you like to do that?
Louise, can you respond?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I have a property that I live in my neighborhood, and it's going to be coming on the market, but it's really in need of a lot of work. And my sellers are older and from back east and are not well. And because I live in the neighborhood, I am forever getting calls from outside brokers, LA, local brokers. Do I have anything coming? And so on this particular property, I'm encouraging my sellers not to go fixing things because somebody's going to just tear it out. Anyway, I have a broker from another firm that drove by yesterday, and he wants to see it today. His clients want to see it today. They're in town, and they are sending me proof of funds. So am I in violation? Can I do just a one-party listing?
But that showing now constitutes public marketing.
But first, she doesn't have an exclusive listing. right?
I could get a one party listing for this particular party. And that was my intention today.
Right, so it's going to be exclusive. It's not going to be, it's only going to be exclusive to that one person.
What?
So
Correct.
it's actually an open listing. What is the phraseology for that in California for us? This EAER.
Well, that's still well, that would still be ER, but it's exclusive to just that one party.
But wouldn't it be EA? And then the question is, if they say the same term, I'm going back old school. If it's EA, then would that trigger clear?
Well, yes,
think it
because you're
would.
going out of time. You know, that's going to be marketing again. In fact, EA probably is worse because, you know, several people can have it. The seller can sell it on their own. Those are going to be more problematic than ever.
Okay, so we'll have to get back to you, Louise,
Yeah.
in the next couple of hours for you to
Okay.
be able to do that, okay? I get what you're trying to do. That makes sense, but
And I want to help you find a way to do it.
Please do.
Yeah, previously for us, what
My
we would
sellers
do.
really need to have this sold to somebody that, you know, is going to redo it. And
Right.
they're not well, and I need to get them back to Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
Right. What we would normally do for us is just do that single party compensation agreement, which
Right.
says this is the principal. They agree that they'll pay the compensation for this, and that kind of acts as our listing agreement for that one particular party.
Right, I get it. And what we have to clarify is, when have you triggered clear? When have you triggered an exclusive listing? And I think that in that situation where Louise is at risk of not being the procuring cause, you know, by default, for yet another person, another buyer, then has she triggered clear yet? And I hope that she has not, and that would give her the ability to do the one party, et cetera.
Understood. Got it. Thank you. All right. We've got a question from Bill. Says there is one here in my complex coming soon, but not in the MLS until the coming soon sign was removed. Not quite sure what the question is on that.
I think that it was coming soon in the yard, but it wasn't on the MLS.
There was a lot of that prior to May 1st. I mean,
Yeah.
because we were using coming soon in a rather pedestrian way until the rules kicked in. And so, you know, that was kind of common. There's still a lot of that going on here in Vegas as well. But now that we're past the May 4th, if that coming soon is still there, then the MLS status has to be coming soon. Or if it goes into ER, then we just remove the coming soon from the sign.
So no longer will you be allowed to put the coming soon sign only on the grass and not on the MLS. It is meant to be in the MLS also.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Understood. All right. Brian Gregory said, I was told that coming soon could be marketed, but no showings allowed until on active MLS. How to define a client? If I have 200 contacts, are they all clients?
Well, they're technically, of course, they're not a client at any given time until you're in an agency. So that's kind of picky, but marketing is allowed as long as the marketing is saying that it is coming soon. It's not really a listing and there's no attempt to show it, right? Because you can even offer commission during this time. And it, you know, so you've got 21 days to do this with a certain amount of impunity. So this is the flexibility that Sierra MLS is giving us, and we hope nobody comes along and takes that away. Because that's not a bad position to be in, to be able to legitimately market and, you know, limited, no showings, but you can also work an offer. So to me, that's a really, really good status.
Right. So
I think that question mixes up the two categories again, which is exactly what is going to happen quite often, because the
Yes.
question used the phraseology of, is that my client? And that really goes to clear policy, right? Whereas if you take the coming soon, you're not doing showings, you can clearly make offerings and talk to your own clients about it. In fact, you will probably be getting offers during the coming soon, especially with the state of technology, because unless this house was never on the market ever, I mean, there's a good chance that even prior to your photos, there's other photos out there. So the buyer and the buyer's agents are going to have a semi understanding of what that thing looks like inside. So you may very well get offers even though your photos aren't up yet.
Yeah, I'm expecting we will, because even during this pandemic, we've seen the days on market from list to sell drop dramatically in the last 6 weeks.
Great.
So would you say it would be better then not to, 'cause since there's confusion around the clear policy, to not do an exclusion and just do a coming soon, because that gives you the flexibility to market it, and because if you do the exclusion, then you know, as soon as you talk about it to someone, you have to put it in within a day as active.
Yeah, I think that coming soon is preferable that way. But again, I do understand, and like where Louisa's coming from, we still have clients who need more privacy, more exclusion, and more protection than perhaps NAR is willing to let us give them. But that's what they need. And so in some cases, it makes us look like the commercial brokerages that don't cooperate. Okay, if that's the way we have to go, then that's how we have to go. Or we do the exclusion until we step over the line, and now we have to put it in the MLS.
We kind of brought this on ourselves, I think, because we all know there's a ton of agents out there that like to hold it exclusive just so they can get both ends of the deal. So I think, we kind of brought this clear rule on ourselves.
For sure. But I do think the coming soon is more flexible. I mean, in the end, if you're comfortable it ending up on the MLS, because some clients will never, ever want to be on the MLS. So that's a whole other world. But if you understand that in 18 days, it's going to end up on the MLS because you finally have now done a showing or whatnot, the coming soon is way more flexible.
Right. Okay, so Janice Kaminsky wants to know what happens if our client signs the contract on a date that is 2 weeks in advance of the start date of the listing. Forrest and I were talking about this earlier.
I strongly recommend not going there. I always want to get the listing date as of the date you get the contract signed, in part because we have seen numerous occasions, unfortunately, where you're prospecting for the same potential client that a dozen other people are. So you post date your contract. Another more aggressive agent comes along tomorrow and convinces them to sign the contract effective today. So now there's one contract that's in effect today and can be in the MLS, and that's not ours. And then in a couple of weeks from now, there's two valid contracts. One's in the MLS, seller's on the hook for potentially 2 commissions, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, I agree. I never do it that way. Awesome. Thanks, Forrest. Okay, Steve Hannigan would like to know, I have 4 properties that I know are available, but clients do not want active. Can I talk about them with agents in my close circle?
Only in the coming soon status. Because once you talk to other agents, again, that's a form of public marketing.
But are they his listings or they just are aware of them?
Steve, are they your listings, or are you just aware that the properties would be available for sale?
Can you hear him?
I cannot. I'm looking to see if.
Because if you're just the buyer's agent, these rules are not going to apply. You're allowed to stalk, a neighborhood and pay attention to what's going on, and even talk to whomever. Sometimes you guys know the tricks. I mean, sometimes you call the previous.
Yes, Steve, we can hear you.
No, these would be my listings or Louise and mine.
Okay.
And they're sellers. And again, we run into this in the summertime. We have listings we know that are available, and these sellers do not want them in MLS, but they are available. And they are loyal, and they are our clients. We may not have an active listing agreement on it, but they're loyal to us.
I think that goes back to Louise's comment of when do we enter into the actual clear territory? Because if we do not have an exclusive listing, how can we be under that policy? And then how do we get triggered to get paid? We either do the one-party listing like we've talked about, or what Dwayne was saying, how we used to do it with the one person commission agreement. But I think what we have to get down to the fine line is, when is it that you've triggered clear? Because you could very well have someone that you do not ever, in the old days, you would just sign an exclusive listing and exclude it. But perhaps at this point, because they're loyal to you, we're not going to sign the exclusive listing. We will be in compliance of the rule because we haven't triggered clear. And then how do we get into escrow and avoid clear the entire time is the question. And I think we have to look at it. And if we're not doing an exclusive, meaning we're at risk, even though we're not really, because our client is loyal to us. But if we're at risk because we're only the exclusive to this particular age buyer and not any other persons who came along, an EA basically, then that may be the answer.
So if we get a buyer, then we need to then, at that point, initiate a new listing agreement, because these are loyal clients to us.
Correct. If you're not concerned about being on the MLS, then you can take the exclusive, market it to that buyer, get into escrow, put it on the MLS within a business day.
But what if, are you marketing them publicly even though they're not listed?
No, it's just, again, we get people, because of the market we do, who call us and say, what is available? And
Right.
we know that these properties are available and they are not marketed over the summer.
And the other thing, I have several of my listings that I've taken off of the market simply because of the coronavirus. And these are, $7 million listings. And they fully intend to be relisted again when the market opens up and we can show more easily. They were feared of, some people living there full-time, really didn't want strangers walking through the house. Others that have caretakers and didn't want to risk endangering their caretakers as they live far away. So, they are going to come back on the market. They are going to relist with me. And there's not a huge market in Palm Springs for $7 million homes. And I'm not sure how many in our agency might have, a buyer for $7 million house. But I'm a member of a group called, and so is Steve, Desert Estates Network. And we've been together for 25 years. We meet once a month. Now we're doing it on these Zoom things. But we talk about what's going on in the high-end market. And we talk about each other's listings. We sell a lot of each other's listings. So, this is just a traditional way that we've sold property forever.
And are those excluded, those listings?
Are they excluded? No, what do you mean, Darren?
Are they on the MLS or are they're
No, my sellers did not want them to remain on the MLS. They didn't want them to be collecting days on market. They want to basically just give it we canceled the listing for them to be able to stop the cancellation or the days on market, because putting on hold would not do that on all the MLSs. And that was their choice. They really didn't want people going through the house under these conditions.
Well, let me clarify my question. If everything clears up and we're past the concern of the health concern, let's say in a couple of months, in your network there, are those listings on the MLS, or are some of them pocket listings?
Well, right now they're not in the MLS.
But in the future, imagine we're past.
Yeah, they would be, but now we're also at a stage. Traditionally, our summertime is our slow time, and very often we would take properties, high-end properties, off the market for the summer, and then we would relist them in the new season. Now it's kind of unknown what's going to happen. We have a demand for the Coachella Valley right now. People are moving out of the cities. At the moment, the only buyers that can come into town is people that live at the coast that can drive in the morning and drive home at night. There are no hotels, there are no vacation rentals, there's no place to stay. So when things open up and airlines are flying people in again, and our buyers have a place where they can stay and look at properties, that's when we'll be able to open up to go back on the market with some of these properties. And whether it's going to be in August when it's 120 degrees, traditionally that's not a busy time. None of us know what it's going to be like this coming season.
Darren, we have like 5 different properties, in all high-end properties, and actually 3 of those, the sellers all know each other. And again, they're very loyal to us, but they do not want to be actively marketed at this time. But if an agent or in our den calls us, we know that they would be interested in a qualified cash buyer today.
Right, and I think that gets right back to figuring out how to get right up to the clear policy without triggering it.
And the good news is, good news, bad news, I guess, but for me, the good news is NAR is not going to be the ones that are actually policing their own policy. They are going to defer this to the local boards. And we haven't had the boards or the pro standards groups of the local boards weigh in on any of this yet as to where they see the lines being, because they haven't been able to meet.
All right. Well, still clear as mud. Janice is asking about days on market. So for example, Investa Plus, they have suspended days on market. Flex is proceeding, well, CRMLS continues with the days on market. And she says, we won't be able to compare apples to apples. I'm not sure how that relates to the clear cooperation policy. Janice, can you clarify? Janice, are you there? Oh, okay, never mind. We'll deal with that separately. That wasn't an issue.
So here's some days on market stuff, from CRMLS has come up with some new terms. Now they have DNA, days not active, DOM, days on market. Then they got DIP, days in pending. And so then they have this measure called days listed. And so the days listed equals days not active plus days on market plus days in pending. So they're going to be tracking all of these different days. For example, days not active, that's a days they spend in any status other than active under contract or pending. So yeah, there's all new terms coming about with this.
All right. So in summary, they can take a listing and they can exclude it from the MLS, but they can't show it, they can't talk about it. It is truly never to see the light of day. The minute they talk about the property to anyone else, that's considered marketing, and it'll need to be in the MLS within 24 hours. Is that a fair statement?
1 business day.
1 business day.
Yep.
Okay. So that's how we're going to deal with that. They can take the listing, they can put it in the MLS within 1 business day in a coming soon status, and then they have 21 days to update that status. Is that correct?
Correct. In fact, that date will be automatic unless he gets an offer negotiated sooner.
Got it. I take a listing on Friday, it has to be in the MLS on Monday. Unless it's Memorial Day, then it has to be in the MLS on Tuesday, correct?
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I'm really confused. Does that mean all these high-end properties we cannot show when we know they're available and the sellers will not put in MLS? Do I just not show them? I mean,
So my question is, do you have a signed listing agreement, Steve?
No. On a couple of them, no.
Okay, so Darren Forrest, it's a house and nobody has the listing. They know that it's saleable for the right price. What do we do in that scenario?
If the seller wants to let you in and show the property, and we are not in exclusive agency yet, then you have not triggered the rules of clear yet.
Right.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay. So
Thank you.
does that help, Steve?
Very much.
Great. Okay,
I have
so
a question.
if you have a listing, a signed exclusive listing agreement, then you can't do that. We're talking specifically about, so Dwayne has this house over here. I know Steve's a realtor. Steve, I would sell my house for $2 million. Steve says, great, awesome. Steve's at a party later, talks to somebody, hey, I have $2 million cash. I don't know what to do with. And Steve says, go buy Dwayne's house. Then I show the house. There's no listing agreement, and then we can do the paperwork after the fact. Is that correct, Darren and Forrest?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that helps us a little bit. I think, so everybody, I think what we've heard clearly from Darren and Forrest is there are still some questions that remain surrounding clear cooperation. But what should be clarified now is the coming soon status. That is literally a status in the MLS. You take the listing, 1 business day, you get it in the coming soon status. All right. The minute you market the property in any way, that must be considered an active listing and you have to change the status. All right. So I think
I thought you could market it as a coming soon as long as you said it was coming soon.
for 21 days.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. To protect.
I think the best way to put it is on clear policy when you're doing a complete exclusion, the moment you market it outside of the brokerage house, you're supposed to put it on the MLS. The key, I think if you go back to the 21-day coming soon, the key difference there is no showings. That's really the key, no showings. Because everything else you can do. You can put a sign in the yard. You can offer commission, no showings.
No showings.
Yeah.
That helps.
And on the excluded, you can have showings, but only within your brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I still thought a one-party listing. I mean, we used to be able to do that. It's just for this particular person.
I think you can, Louise, and I think we're gonna have to. We're gonna get back to you because that may very well be the answer.
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Because our argument back to NAR and nationwide is, well, we don't have an exclusive listing. Anybody and their mom could come and buy this house around me and I'm not going to get paid. Now, you know that won't happen because of the loyalty you have with this particular client, but that may very well be the answer because we do not have an exclusive listing. You don't have the authority to put it on the MLS.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Is that right, Forrest?
That's, you're dead right there. I like this as a possible.
So we'll get back to you on that,
All right.
Louise.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. All right.
Can I please make one more point?
Yes.
Louise is sitting in the living room of a wonderful listing that's just been reduced to 1995.
Is it listed right now? Or are we allowed? Oh no, we're inside the brokerage, so you guys can do whatever you want.
That is listed right now.
I'm on my way, Steve. All right. Kate Counsel would like to ask, to protect our commission, would a letter of intent work to have the seller sign acknowledging our relationship without a formal listing agreement, thereby be a workaround?
Could be. It could be. You know, to get paid a commission, the MLS and the exclusivity is awesome because it's very simple and it explains everything, and you know they agree to pay you and whatnot. But you don't have to have to be paid a real estate commission in California. You do not have to have that particular form. You could have another form. You could have the lawyer draws up a LOI and it mentions you, etc. And then you get into procuring cause, not through our board, but through procuring cause in the concept of common law. So sure. There can be a situation where persons do not use any of our forms, yet we get paid. So
Correct.
and when our forms, I mean car.
Mm-hmm. Right. I've done it, so I know it's possible. All right. Gentlemen, I know this is painful for you. I know it's painful for our agents, but it is definitely appreciated, your time and you're answering the questions so willingly. I really, really appreciate it.
Sure. Hey, could I have one more question for the group? How is the wonderful form that you're meant to post on the entry of the doors going for listed properties? Any pushback there?
There has definitely been pushback. When is the active date? Dean, it's been sent. We'll send it again. When is the active date? When is that required? Because it was my understanding we're not allowed to show still.
Oh, in your area, you're not showing yet.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So that
that's
hasn't
why.
been pushed out by the association because we're
Yeah.
still on the first it's virtual, no showings, no open houses.
That makes sense. That's why
Yeah.
no one's mentioned it. In
Correct.
So I
So
usually get about 50 questions on that. Okay. So
when the city says that we are in the next phase and that's allowed, the association will push that form out. I will push the form out as well.
okay.
But
Okay.
I've seen a lot of showings at the places for sale across the street from me. There's been people in and out of there all week. So-
correct. I think, we've got, as in anything, we have varying interpretations of what is and isn't allowed. So I think we'll just continue to work within the rules that we know exist. Carr is going to revise the form. Gloves will not be required. Good, because the gloves are worthless.
One thing I'd like to mention, and particularly in the high end, what we're doing here in Palm Springs is we are requiring that they look at photos first and virtual tours, but we are not doing showings unless they can show us that they have cash or they have a current loan approval. And so that immediately weeds out casual showings and looky-loos.
Right.
Yep.
And it's working.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's really difficult to show those properties. You have to go with the mask and gloves and open up all the doors so they don't touch anything. But we know we're dealing with qualified buyers.
Right. And I think that's the way we're going to proceed for the duration. So I agree with you.
Dwayne, will you send that form back out, the one that has to go on the door?
I will. I'll resend it. We're not required to use it just now, but I will send it to everybody again. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I think that wraps up the piece with Darren and Forrest. Gentlemen, I really am so thankful to you all. We all
Anytime.
All right.
Anytime.
I'm going to share my screen now because we've got some fun stuff that I want to address. Let's see. Is this the one I want to share? No, that's not what I want to share. Give me a second here. Close this. And close this. Open this. And then go back here. Zoom. Share. Yes, that's what I want to share. Awesome. And then I want to go here. Slideshow, play from the start. Am I doing it? I am doing it. All right, here we go. So, you guys, I know that was a lot to absorb. So let's have a little bit of fun and let's celebrate April's success. If you can believe it, we took $17 million in new listings in April, given everything going on. We sold $26.9 million in real estate in April. That is above last year's numbers. Over 2020 over 2019, we sold more real estate in this office than we did last year, given everything that happened. Congratulations. Rich Enright, 2 sales. Jacqueline Ford, 1 sale. Ted Smith, Byron Loman Brian Boomershine, Sean Waters, Alan Bloom, Maureen Morin, Tony Thomas, Dean Sipe, Michael Bernal, Randy Viskovich, Maria Herrera, Melissa Schupp up in the high desert, Robert Carlson, the Marks Real Estate Group, Maida and Mary, Richie Usher, Scott Ahrens, Sandra Quinn, Janice Kaminsky, John White, Kenny Jervis, and Louise Hampton team. And also the Louise Hampton team successfully closed the 3rd highest sale in Palm Springs history and the highest price sale in 2020. So congratulations to those guys in the middle of a pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to you all. Super, super excited for this team. Things are starting to open up. We're seeing lots of activity, lots of new listings. So just congratulations. I'm in awe of you guys. I have just put this slide up yet again. That the stay-at-home order is still in effect unless you're engaging in essential activities. That is still the case. We're phasing in as a state. The city has committed to working with Riverside County to be more in concert, which is great for us here in Palm Springs because we have been kind of in that stricter category, overriding some of the county and state rules. So that's good news for us. Remember that you still wear face coverings when you're around other people in the grocery stores and whatnot. People are really good about putting up signs in their businesses, like for the grocery stores and for the, what is it called? Pharmacies, things like that. Only essential businesses, we've got that. They've opened up golf, tennis, and pickleball, so that's great news. Community pools are open, only one person in the hot tub at a time, so, you know, kind of limits the fun there. A strong recommendation is made that all persons who are 65 years or older, have a chronic underlying health condition, or have compromised immune systems should self-quarantine. So that's the good news, and I'm expecting, we're all anticipating that the next phase is coming really soon. I know that the governor announced something yesterday. So in that vein, corporate has provided this, all of the offices here in the Coachella Valley, face masks, hand sanitizer, and Laura, what was the other thing we got? No, she's not there. We got something else. It was face mask, hand sanitizer, and something else that we are distributing throughout the Coachella Valley offices. The rule is we can't force anyone to wear a face covering. There has been some violence surrounding that. So if they ask it, we can provide it to them. All right. So we will have all of those available to you guys for office use as we open the offices. All right. Remember, tomorrow we've got the Palm Springs Regional Association of Realtors meeting. That is also a Zoom meeting. And then we'll have our caravan afterwards. So if you guys have properties for a caravan, please send me the videos so I can upload it to the YouTube channel tomorrow, following the Palm Springs Regional Association of Realtors meeting at 10 o'clock. And then we've got the marketing. They've been doing an amazing job. A lot of you are utilizing them. That's amazing. I have with me Yvonne here from Legendary Escrow. So Yvonne's going to talk a little bit about what's going on with escrow.
Mary had to get back to her dash. She has a couple signings going on, but she wanted me to let you guys know and inform you if you need any estimates for figures for any of your properties, please feel free to email her. I also wanted to keep you guys up to date. I am working on getting HUD approval for HUD transactions. So I sent an email to the account manager. So hopefully we can get approval for all of our 5 branch locations. Once that time comes, I will keep you guys informed, and I will let Dwayne know, and Dwayne can go ahead and inform all of you once that comes in as an approval.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Yvonne.
Yes.
All right. And then we've got lots of training coming up. So here's Chris's schedule. I'll make sure this email goes out later this afternoon for Videolicious and Buy Side. I really also want to encourage you guys to double check your AdWorks accounts. And especially now, we've got a lot of new listings coming on. So those of you who are putting in new listings, remember that you get that week of AdWorks, the campaign, at no additional charge. So make sure you're utilizing it. Laura and I worked real hard to make sure your information was correct for the MLS IDs that were missing from the whole roster. So that's done now. You guys should be golden on your AdWorks. Again, clear cooperation. I think we've sufficiently beat this horse. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have any other announcements. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience. I know it can be frustrating. We're all living in a new reality. And so we have to work with each other and our other colleagues and other agencies to make sure that we are communicating. And if a misunderstanding arises, we can work through it. Remember, we all work together, no matter what banner we fly under. So it's important to have mutual respect. If you're not receiving it, then take a pause, step away from it, because that does happen. But I'm here to answer any questions that I can. If I don't know the answer, I will seek out the resources that do have the answer. Darren and Forrest have been so generous with their time and knowledge with me. I'm always getting answers from them for questions that we have. So with that, I know it's a little over our hour. I thank you for your indulgence, and have a great time out there. The weather's getting nice, so enjoy it where you can. Thanks, guys.